There's something you've noticed about certain people. You can't always put your finger on it right away. It's not that they're the loudest in the room. It's not that they're the best looking or the most successful or the most impressively credentialed. It's not even that they say particularly remarkable things, but something about them commands attention. Something about the way they carry themselves makes you take them seriously before they've done anything to earn it. And after you've spent even a few minutes with them, there's a quiet, almost involuntary sense of, I respect this person. You felt it. Everybody has. And if you trace it back, if you actually try to isolate what it is that produces that feeling, you'll find that it almost always comes back to one thing. Not confidence, not achievement, not status. One habit, simple, learnable, available to anyone, but practiced consistently by very few people. Here it is. They do what they say they're going to do. That's it. That is the habit. Not a morning routine, not a power pose, not a communication framework or a negotiation tactic, or a carefully cultivated personal brand. Just this: when they say something is going to happen, it happens. When they make a commitment, large or small, witnessed or unwitnessed, consequential or seemingly trivial, they keep it consistently, over time, without requiring reminders or follow-up or external accountability to get it done. It sounds almost embarrassingly simple, and yet, look around you. Look honestly at the people in your life, in your workplace, in your social circle. Count the ones who actually do this, who say what they mean and follow through every time, not just when it's easy or convenient, or when someone is watching. The number is smaller than you'd expect, because this habit, this specific, unglamorous, undramatic habit, is one of the hardest things a person can actually sustain, not because it requires talent, but because it requires something rarer than talent. It requires integrity. And integrity, real integrity, is a full-time job. Why this habit creates instant respect. Here's what most people don't understand about respect. Respect is not primarily a response to what you say about yourself. It's a response to the pattern of what you do over time. It's the conclusion people arrive at after watching you, not after listening to you. And the pattern that produces respect faster than almost any other is simple reliability. The consistent, demonstrated reality that your word means something. That when you say you'll be somewhere, you're there. When you say you'll handle something, it's handled. When you say you're committed to something, that commitment holds even when holding it costs you something. This pattern does something specific in the minds of the people around you. It answers a question they're always asking, consciously or not, about everyone they encounter. Can I count on this person? Most people, if you're honest, produce an uncertain answer to that question. They're reliable sometimes. They follow through when it's easy. They have good intentions that don't always translate into consistent action. You like them, you enjoy them, you might even love them, but you wouldn't bet anything important on their word without checking in first. The person who produces a clear, consistent yes to that question stands out in a way that's almost impossible to manufacture through any other means. Because trust, genuine, earned, demonstrated trust, is the foundation of all respect. And reliability is how trust is built.
1. Start with the small things.
Most people think this habit is about the big commitments, the major promises, the significant declarations. But the truth is that respect is built and lost almost entirely in the small things. The email you said you'd send by end of day, the task you said you'd take care of, the time you said you'd arrive, the thing you said you'd look into and get back to someone about. These are the moments that actually form the pattern, not the grand gestures, the small, daily, low-stakes commitments that most people treat as approximate rather than actual. When you say 7 o'clock, do you mean 7, or do you mean somewhere in the 7 to 7:30 range? When you say you'll handle something, does that mean you'll handle it, or that you'll try to get to it when other things allow? When you say you'll follow up, does that happen automatically or only if the other person reminds you? These distinctions feel minor, and in isolation, they are, but they accumulate. Every small commitment kept adds a layer to the foundation. Every small commitment quietly dropped chips away at it. People are tracking this, not consciously, not with a spreadsheet, but in the background, all the time. They're building a model of who you are based on the data you give them, and the data you give them is mostly made up of small moments. Give them good data. 2. Only say what you'll actually do. Here's where most people unknowingly undermine themselves. They overcommit. Not from dishonesty, from the desire to be helpful, to seem capable, to avoid disappointing someone in the moment. It feels good to say yes. It feels generous. It feels like the right response to someone's need or expectation. But a yes you can't keep is worse than a no you delivered honestly, because the no disappoints someone once, in the moment, and then it's over. The broken yes disappoints them later, when they were counting on you, when they'd built plans around your word, and it takes something from their trust in you that is very hard to rebuild. The habit, then, is not just follow-through, it's accurate commitment in the first place. Before you say yes to something, ask yourself honestly, am I actually going to do this? Not, do I want to do this? Not, do I intend to do this? But am I actually going to do it? Given everything else I've said yes to, given my realistic capacity, given the way my life actually works. If the honest answer is uncertain, say so. If the honest answer is no, say that. I can't commit to that right now, but I can do this instead. Let me check before I promise anything. I want to be honest with you. I'm not sure I can give that the attention it deserves. These responses feel harder to give than a quick yes, but they are worth 10 times more to your reputation than a yes that quietly disappears. Because they signal something rare and deeply respected, that your word is not casual, that you don't distribute it freely and carelessly and then let it evaporate, that when you say yes, it means something. 3. When you can't follow through, get ahead of it. Nobody follows through on everything all the time. Life interrupts. Circumstances change. Things come up that nobody could have predicted. Perfect reliability across every commitment, forever, is not a realistic standard, and holding yourself to it will only produce shame and avoidance. What separates people with genuine reputations for reliability from everyone else is not that they never fail to follow through, it's what they do when they realize they're going to fall short. They communicate early. They don't wait until the deadline is passed and the other person is already wondering what happened. They get ahead of it as soon as they know, and they say, I told you I'd have this done by Thursday, and that's not going to happen. Here's why. Here's my new timeline. Here's what I'm doing about it. That response, timely, honest, specific, forward-looking, actually reinforces trust rather than destroying it, because it demonstrates that you're tracking your commitments, that you take them seriously enough to address them proactively rather than hoping nobody notices, that you respect the other person's time and plans enough to give them accurate information as soon as you have it. The person who disappears when they can't deliver destroys trust. The person who communicates honestly and early, even when what they're communicating is bad news, builds it, because they've shown that their reliability isn't contingent on things going perfectly. It holds even under pressure, even when honoring it costs them something. 4. Hold this standard with yourself, not just with others. This is the layer most people miss entirely. The habit of doing what you say you're going to do is not only about other people, it's about you. It's about the private commitments, the ones made in your own head with no witness, with no external accountability, and whether you keep those too. You told yourself you'd wake up at 6. You told yourself you'd work on that thing after dinner. You told yourself this week would be different, and then it wasn't. Every broken private commitment does something. It might seem invisible. Nobody else knew about it. Nobody else is affected, but it isn't invisible to you. Your brain is tracking it. And over time, a steady accumulation of unkept promises to yourself produces something quiet and corrosive. It produces a kind of low-grade distrust of yourself, a background belief that when you say you're going to do something, even when you're the only audience, it probably won't happen. And that belief, internalized deeply enough, seeps into everything. It affects how you carry yourself, how you make commitments to others, how seriously you take your own word. The people who project the kind of natural, effortless self-assurance that we tend to read as confidence are often people who have simply kept enough promises to themselves that they've developed genuine trust in their own word. They don't wonder whether they'll follow through. They know they will because the evidence is extensive and consistent. That kind of self-trust doesn't come from affirmations. It doesn't come from motivation. It comes from doing what you said you were going to do repeatedly, over time, even when it was inconvenient, even when nobody was watching. 5. Understand what you're actually building. Let's pull back for a moment and look at the bigger picture. When you practice this habit consistently, not perfectly, but consistently, you are building something that most people spend their entire lives trying to find shortcuts to. You are building a reputation that precedes you, not a reputation you've crafted or managed or strategically cultivated, a reputation that formed organically from the sediment of 1,000 small kept commitments, and that now simply exists as what people know to be true about you. That person delivers. If she says she'll do it, it's done. He's the one you call when it actually matters. You cannot buy that reputation. You cannot talk your way into it. You cannot manufacture it through self-promotion or image management or any amount of positioning. You can only earn it, one kept commitment at a time, over a long enough period that the pattern becomes undeniable. And once you have it, Once people have experienced enough of your consistency that your reliability has become part of how they understand you, it changes everything about how they treat you, how much they trust you with, how seriously they take your opinions, how readily they advocate for you, how quickly they extend you the benefit of the doubt when things go wrong. All of that flows from this one habit. 6. The compound effect of consistency. There's a reason this habit creates respect so reliably, and it's worth understanding clearly. Most social dynamics are based on probability. When people decide how much weight to give your words, how much responsibility to extend to you, how much authority to grant you, they're making a probabilistic judgment based on past behavior. A person who follows through 80% of the time is not 80% as trusted as someone who follows through 100% of the time. Trust doesn't scale linearly. The gap between almost always and always, between usually reliable and genuinely reliable, is enormous in terms of how people actually experience you and what they're willing to put in your hands. Because trust, real trust, requires confidence, not hope, not reasonable expectation. Confidence. The kind that allows someone to stop tracking whether you'll do the thing and simply assume that you will. That level of confidence is only produced by consistency. And consistency, sustained long enough, compounds. The first 20 times you follow through, people notice. The next 50, they start to expect it. After that, it becomes what they know. It becomes part of how they think about you. And once it's part of how they think about you, it is extraordinarily durable, because people don't revise deeply held impressions easily or often. This means that every commitment you keep today is not just doing what you said you'd do today. It is an investment in who you are going to be understood to be, not next week, not next month, for years. Here's what it all comes down to. We spend enormous energy looking for the thing that will make people take us seriously. The achievement, the credential, the look, the presence, the right words said in the right room at the right time. And all of that matters to some degree, but none of it matters as much as this. Because at the end of a long enough period of time, people don't remember what you said about yourself. They remember what you did. They remember whether you showed up, whether you delivered, whether your word was worth anything. The habit of keeping your commitments to others and to yourself is the single most direct path to becoming someone that people genuinely, deeply, durably respect. Not because you performed it, not because you told them to, but because they watched you over and over. In small moments and large ones, when it was easy and when it wasn't, and they arrived at the conclusion on their own. That is how respect actually works, and this is how you earn it.